Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome. I'm Deanne, and this is Power English for Foreign Executives. It's a channel really it's for everyone, but specifically geared to foreign executives who are currently working in American companies or to rising stars who want to work in American companies, either based in your home country or here in the United States, where I am. And welcome to Power English. How I define it is that Power English is about the effective use of English words and phrases and expressions and cultural awareness and an understanding of the different topics that I talk about and how it affects you and your leadership style within the American workplace. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to help you enhance all of that. And today I want to talk about buzzwords in DEI. I talked about DEI in the recent uh, video, and today I just want to follow it up with the buzzwords. So today I want to talk about what is DEI and the protected classes, just to give you an overview. Uh, some of the buzzwords. I certainly can't give you all of them, but I just picked out a few of them for you. And a description of what I would call DEI appropriate descriptors for people of the DEI protected classes. So, what is DEI? DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And essentially, it's a collection of efforts for corporate culture or indeed of a society. And it encompasses all the different types of diversity within uh, the United States who are working in businesses. And it includes the equity or the equality of these people in the workplaces and the inclusion that is offered in the workplace. It's a collection of laws. It's a collection of best practices. It's a collection of cultural awareness initiatives uh, in the business environment. So and specifically it is geared towards protecting underrepresented folks in those environments. And who are the protected classes or the protected groups in this environment? They include and where they're protected. They're protected primarily because historically they have been underrepresented in areas of leadership where serious decisions are made, or they are not made to feel welcome in these environments, and the environments has not fostered collaboration. So these protected classes include um, it's based on your race or your color, your sex, your age, 40 years and older. Some folks are discriminated against because of that. Their national origin, um, their level, varying levels of disability. Now, the corporation or the organization is going to make some allowances, some not allowances, some accommodations for those particular disabilities. Your sexual orientation, if you are pregnant, uh, and also according to your veteran status, if you are in the military services, and your genetic information, there should be no discrimination on that. However, the DEI framework recognizes that diversity alone is not enough. You can hire a diverse cross-section of cultures, but if they're not feeling equal, if they're not feeling included, having a seat at the table, to be heard, to be welcome, then the DEI process fails. What you don't want to have is something that is on the books as a policy, and there is no actionable items that's not consistent with those written policies. So that's it in a nutshell. What DEI is. So why is it important for foreign exec? I'm looking down because I've got my notes. Why is it important for foreign executives to know this? It is important, especially for foreign executives who may come from environments or cultures where these protected classes have not been as protected, or that there has been a widespread commitment to include these protected classes to have a big seat at the decision-making tables when it comes to hiring and promoting, and to have an inclusiveness. And the foreign executive may have people already in her division or his division that are from these protected classes, or that you may be in the process of hiring people from these protected classes. And you have to be aware of what's in place in your company. How is the corporate culture? Are they going to be harassed? Are they going to be discriminated against? All those kinds of things you have to think about. And if you are in violation of any of these practices, you or your company could be served a lawsuit from one of these, or maybe more than one of these protected classes. So for example, my gender is female, so I'm from a protected class. My skin color and culture is Black. That's another so I'm in two protected classes as an example. So it is imperative for you to know these things about DEI. Okay, some buzzwords. I was going to just make a few of them, but I'm giving a lot more than what I had initially planned. But I think they're important ones for you to have under your belt and to be aware of them. First one, inclusive leadership. Part of your leadership style will be not only in terms of how you lead your team, how you develop your team, but to have this awareness of, is my team as diverse as I think it should be? And how is my corporate culture encouraging this? So you may want to look at a broader picture of things, and that from these protected classes, am I listening to their perspective? Am I understanding their values when they share at meetings or in my own personal interaction with them? Am I doing those kinds of things in the DEI framework that says, I'm developing a better leadership style, or I'm really supporting the corporate culture that supports DEI? Inclusive language. So it's not only the verbal language, but what you're putting out in your policies, in your interactions with your customers, with your team. Are your advertisements for your product including a diversity of peoples and cultures and language? So it's verbal, and it's also in the people aspect, and also in your community involvement. Are you including those charity organizations that is a real cross section of individuals in diversity, or in those protected classes? Your cultural competence. Are you comfortable in interacting with and appreciating and effectively communicating with people from different cultural groups or in from one of these protected classes? Are you comfortable with that? And is your comfort level showing, or is your lack of comfort level also showing too? It always comes back down to the individual, isn't it? Because people can pick up when when you're being fake and when you're being very, very sincere. Another one, unconscious bias. It's an implicit or unconscious preference that may influence your decision making. And that comes down to stereotypes. You're comfortable with your own, meaning you're comfortable with people that look like you and sound like you and come from backgrounds like you. But this is where now stereotypes are popping in, and you're thinking, well, if I have this particular person from a so-called protected class, I've never seen them in a leadership role, so maybe I shouldn't promote them because if I haven't seen it, I don't know how good they're going to be. It always comes back down to the individual. For what you may know and think about a protected class, you'll always have to think about it as when you come down to the individual. Implicit bias training, which comes directly from this, it's one way to get out of your head those stereotypes, and companies will, or through their human resources or HR departments, have either in-house training for everyone to get an understanding of DEI, or they may have all off-site or consulting firms come into the company to do the training, or you may take training off-site. This is good, but it can't be the only thing that you do. You have to also work with yourself and also with your team. And the more interaction you have with people who do not look like you and who contribute to the success of your team and therefore to the success of the company, the more comfortable you become. So it is a tool. It's just one of many, 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 many tools. Implicit bias training. And then it goes into now diverse talent pipeline. If you go to the same usual pipelines to recruit, to hire, you may not be looking at a wider landscape of hiring places. Employment agencies that you always look at to use may not be necessarily focused on a broader DEI framework. So you may have to go outside of the box, so to speak, and to look at employment agencies that may cater to any one or two or several, if not all. The agencies may not be able to, one agency may not be able to handle all different protected classes, but you can start thinking and asking and identifying employment sources that are not the usual ones that you would normally recruit from. You also have to think about universities, or when you're recruiting, for example, graduates from colleges or graduate school. Yes, you may always want to go to, for example, the Ivies, and you're not looking at all the other universities in the group of educational institutions. But what I think you may also want to do, excuse me, I was just thinking about universities that cater to people who are not able to see or unable to hear. There are universities in our country that graduate and have alumni from these places who are absolutely as skilled as anyone else that you may recruit from these institutions, and you may not have even thought about. them. So you have to go out of your way to identify those, and it becomes part of best practices. And for you as a leader to be able to do that, or to tell HR, I really want to look at a broader resource base of candidates other than just the regular ones that you see, uh, is great. And I think it helps to enhance your leadership style, that you're able to do that. Because if you're getting the best people for your team or for your division, it enhances your position in the American workplace. The next one is affirmative action. These are laws, policies, and practices that help to increase the opportunities for underrepresented groups. And this is where it is a purposeful effort for the corporations. If they do not uh, use those underrepresented groups, not only at just one level, but also at higher levels and higher levels and higher levels, and be a part of the decision-making process, to have, and this is another expression, to have a seat at the table, to have a seat at the table of the decision-making table. Not that you have to, sit behind the table, but that you're actually sitting at the table to help make decisions. It should be a cross-cultural expanse of people who are also very talented. It's not just how they look, but what they have to contribute in their talents. Microaggressions. These are subtle and unintentional. I don't think it's always unintentional. Verbal or nonverbal behaviors that communicate bias or discrimination. People sometimes may say things, and sometimes it is sincerely unintentional, but sometimes it can be intentional. For example, with a comment like, for, say, for an Hispanic, you write reports very well. Now, what is that supposed to mean? But, some people will say those things and say, but I didn't mean anything by it. It's a compliment. Well, then just say, you wrote a great report. There's no need to say, for this, or for a disabled person, you do this very well. It's like a backhanded, just say you do this very well. It has nothing to do with your culture or your ability or disability. It has nothing, or your gender orientation or your sex or being pregnant. It has nothing to do with that. Just give the compliment. Just give the compliment. Or, do all of your people only eat this? It is crazy, some of the examples that I could give, and I think you could also think of some examples too that people may ask you about being a foreigner. Uh, my pivot for this channel is towards Asia, because that is where my interest and experience lies. So I know, as foreign executives from Asia, you may get the weirdest questions, and sometimes it's genuine ignorance, but sometimes I think it may also be intentional to kind of make you a little bit uncomfortable. But you will learn how to respond to that as we talk more and more about how to develop your confidence level within the American marketplace. The other one, social justice, is the pursuit of equality and fair treatment for all people in our society. And the next one, it's called ally, ALLY, allyship. allyship. And it's the advocacy and support of protected classes when you yourself are not a member of that protected class, but because you may have family members who are of one of those protected classes, or you have friends who are members of the protected class, or because you feel very strongly about supporting them, you will want to write letters to your congressperson or to your local politician in support of a particular law or policies within your community, or within the country, and say, yes, I have friends, I have family, or just say, I just support, or you make donations to those advocacy organizations that are favorable towards these protected classes. So these are just some of the buzzwords, but wait, I'm coming up with and as I had promised you in the last video, that I was going to give you some DEI appropriate descriptors. And let me just say, some DEI programs fail. Why? Because on paper, they looked great when they were written, but they are no longer consistent. It's no longer trendy in your company to be in support of DEI. So they fail. And then these protected classes say, well, what was all this excitement about? And I haven't seen anyone who looks like me promoted to a leadership level. I haven't seen anyone like me in a decision-making capacity in the company. So they fail because the practice has been lessened or reduced, or because the actions are not consistent. You've got to maintain consistency and activity. And if your leadership style continues that consistent practice, either in hiring and in promoting, it will be successful. You will be successful in that, but everybody has to buy into it. And the I guess from the top down, from the CEO down, there is that need for constant vigilance in making sure that your best practices are not only legal compliance, but that they're actively pursued with these protected groups in your organization. By the way, if you like what you're hearing and you think that these and other topics that I have chosen in the past and new ones that will be coming up, and I'm very excited about those. If you like what you hear, I invite you to subscribe. I also invite you to click the like button and also to offer your comments. And when you subscribe, you will get the notification bell, and I hope you will click that on for the next video that will be popping up soon. It'll be popping up soon. And if you ever are in need of a one-on-one consultation, I do offer that, and you can contact me below in the description box. The information is below. I'd be glad to talk with you. Now, as I promised, and I gave a couple of examples in the last video about some DEI appropriate names of people, and I said it should be person first and disability second. So, for example, I think I said the first one was what you now would call a deaf person is a hearing impaired person. A blind person is visually impaired. Someone who is crippled or physically unable to walk is a mobility impaired person. Our indigenous peoples in the United States were called American Indians, and they preferred to be called First Nation peoples, First Nation peoples, or by their tribal names. Person, and I even hate to say the name, but just as an example, uh, a person who is retarded is called disabled or handicapped, disabled or handy capable. An old person, because from the protected classes of 40 years and older, an old person is called a senior or a senior citizen. A fat person is called a plus size person. In a solidarity group of Black, Indigenous, and people of color are called BIPOC. BIPOC, people of color, POC. B, Black, I, Indigenous. BIPOC, BIPOC, BIPOC peoples. It emphasizes the solidarity of these people as a protected group, especially when they are fighting an historic systemic discrimination for all of them. And in solidarity, they all their those classes may join to advocate for themselves or bring on a legal lawsuit. For example, homosexual is called gay. And within that, the LGBTQ, these are all the letters, the acronym LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. Queer or questioning. Let me tell you that again. It's LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. As I said earlier, successful implementation means you have to be constantly at vigil to make sure that these protected classes are an inclusive and equitable part of the American workplace. So I'm encouraging you also to see the earlier video that I did. I think this is episode 10, so look for episode 9. Excuse me. And so, as I've said in previous videos, let's call it a day. Let's call it a day, meaning let's finish up today. I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this is helpful. I really do think that for foreign executives, these little tidbits, these little snippets of information is going to be very good for enhancing your leadership style. It's going to be great as you understand more and that you practice more of this and seeing if your company does practice the DEI. It's going to be, excuse me, great for you, as who knows, you may be interviewed for promotion either in your company or in another American company and being asked, what do you know uh, about DEI and how would you practice the ideal setting of a DEI program? So you know, you're not going to be interviewed just about your skills and expertise in in the job, but to have a bigger understanding of the corporate culture. Who knows? That may come up in a job interview. So good luck with that. I hope you do come back again, and thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.